Dr. Ronny Jackson is not giving up the fight to be the next head of Veterans Affairs. How the White House is fighting back with a letter from former President Barack Obama. Plus, Jeff Sessions says he won't recuse himself from the Michael Cohen investigation. We're going to talk more about that story with former federal prosecutor Larry Klayman. And the Republican candidate narrowly wins a special election in Arizona. Is this the end of the Democrats' so-called blue wave? Or is it a bad sign for the GOP? We're going to ask our political panel to weigh in. All that and much more coming up next, right here on America Talks Live. And welcome to this Wednesday edition of America Talks Live. I'm Miranda Kahn, and I'm here with my co-host, John Cardillo. And Dr. Gina, also one of our co-hosts, Dr. Gina Loudon, is still in Washington, D.C. She's going to hopefully be joining us around 2 o'clock Eastern Time. And a reminder, we are taking your phone calls today, as always. Here's that number to call, 1-877-NEWSMAX. Again, that's 1-877-639-7629. All right, though, let's take a look at what's happening at the White House today. Another busy day coming up at 1:45 Eastern Time. Right before that press briefing, President Trump is going to be meeting with Tim Cook. He, of course, is the CEO of Apple. Then at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she's going to be delivering her daily press briefing. And at 5:15, Vice President Mike Pence, he is going to be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where he'll deliver remarks at an American First policy event. All right, let's take a look at our top story, though, today. And that is, of course, Dr. Ronny Jackson says that he will not withdraw from the nomination to be the next head of Veterans Affairs. Jackson's hearing was supposed to be today, but it's now been postponed indefinitely. This comes after CBS and CNN report that he was accused of improper misconduct. Now, CBS notes that those allegations, again, involve a hostile work environment, excessive drinking on the job, and improperly dispensing medication. However, President Trump standing by Jackson again, in fact, praising him, and said that during that his joint press conference that he had with the French president yesterday. Here's a reminder. Take a listen.
He's a fine man. I'll always stand behind him. I'd let it be his choice. But he's a man who has just been an extraordinary person. His family, extraordinary success, great doctor, great everything. And he has to listen to the abuse that he has to. I wouldn't, if I were him, actually, in many ways, I'd love to be him.
The White House is also going on the offensive. It released former President Obama's handwritten notes praising Dr. Jackson. In that letter, Obama wrote Jackson is a tremendous asset to the entire White House team. He also recommended that Jackson be promoted to Rear Admiral. Yesterday, the White House said that Jackson's nomination would, quote, certainly not be railroaded by a bitter ex-colleague. And that's where we want to welcome in our first guest. Joining us today, we're pleased to have Larry Klayman. Again, he is a former federal prosecutor and the founder of Freedom Watch and a regular here on America Talks Live. Always good to see you, Larry.
Good to see you too, Miranda.
So is Obama's praise for Dr. Jackson likely to move the needle more into the doctor's favor and furthermore call into question, frankly, the legitimacy of some of these allegations?
Well, we live in an age where witch hunts don't just apply to what's happening to the president with special counsel Robert Mueller, is that we have legitimate concern about sexual harassment and things like that. But it's gone too far with this so-called Me Too movement, where men are accused of things they don't have a chance to defend themselves. And just on the accusations, they're effectively indicted and convicted. And that's why I think the president's digging in his heels here. And Obama's praise is so important, because we have to put an end to this. We're creating racial divisions in this country, divisions between the sexes. We're being torn apart. Enough is enough. The president says, that's it. This guy needs to be confirmed.
Larry, Jon Cardillo here. Isn't it particularly, it's my opinion anyway, particularly reprehensible for people like Jon Tester, people like Chuck Schumer, to come out against Ronny Jackson. Ronny Jackson was a frontline shock trauma surgeon, literally putting our special operators back together when they came in severely wounded off of the battlefield. Yet Chuck Schumer, Jon Tester, they throw his honorable, decades-long honorable service out the window, smear him on baseless allegations. What should be the reprisal to those members of Congress for doing that, should these allegations, as I believe, turn out to be false?
Well, they should be sued for defamation. Why not? The president's been sued a number of times recently, and leftist judges have allowed the cases to continue. Sue them. I've said the same thing to the president. Don't hold back. Do what is in your instincts to do. Be a fighter, and he is a fighter, and he needs to fight for Mr. Jackson as well. And fight for men, because men deserve to be treated equally with women. But in this society today, forget it. Men are second-class citizens. They're no longer equal, even to women.
All right. Speaking as a woman, I do not think you guys are second-class citizens, but
thanks, Miranda.
Just, had to throw that out there. But I do want to talk about the Michael Cohen probe. Attorney General Jeff Sessions says he won't recuse himself from that investigation, but Sessions says he will consider stepping back from certain questions tied to that probe. Cohen's lawyer says that he expects his client to be indicted sometime in the next 3 months. As you may recall, the FBI raided his home, office, and hotel room last month. Meanwhile, Larry, it was just yesterday that 5 Republican House members asked Sessions in a letter why he had left it up to Rosenstein to make that decision to raid Cohen's office. So if you could explain to all of us why Sessions couldn't be involved in that decision per se, but he has no problem being involved now under, again, most circumstances now.
Well, let's say, to put it nicely, that he's confused. But the reason he's confused is that Sessions has been under investigation by Special Counsel Mueller himself for alleged Russian collusion, for not being candid with Congress. And in fact, perjury allegations are at issue with regard to his testimony about meeting with Ambassador Kislyak of the Russian Federation, and also obstruction of justice and firing Comey. So he buried his head in the sand. He doesn't want to take Mueller on because he's worried he could wind up getting indicted. And that's, I think, what explains a lot of his behavior. But now he's under pressure to actually do something. And what he's doing, frankly, is quite minimal. What he should really be doing is resigning in the best interest of the American people. He cannot serve effectively as Attorney General. And I have a petition up on our website at freedomwatchusa.org. We already have about 4,000 signatures to name me special counsel, because someone needs to take a look at what Mueller's been doing in terms with Comey's criminal actions, and notwithstanding the Clintons and everybody else. Either resign or be fired by the president.
No, Larry, I come out of law enforcement before I was here in media, and I've long said that if I were involved in an investigation with as many conflicts, as many improprieties as Mueller over the years, even Alan Dershowitz is now calling for Mueller to be investigated for his shielding Whitey Bulger and John Connolly, an FBI agent in prison. Whitey Bulger, of course, in prison for life now, vicious gangster. You've been a federal prosecutor, you've been a defense attorney, you've been a litigator. Isn't this, and I say it on air all the time, one of the most egregious abuses of power you've ever seen, one of the most egregious cases of impropriety that should have been shut down long ago, the Mueller investigation?
Absolutely. And Mueller, the Whitey Bulger thing is just one aspect of his sordid past. I've always said, when in Washington, D.C., and I've spent many years there, you're called a man of integrity by the establishment. Look out, okay? He's not a man of integrity. He covered up certain things with regard to 9/11. I was representing 2 FBI agents who were trying to be drummed out when they wanted to investigate Saudi money laundering. He is not an honest man, and he's part of the establishment, Democrat and Republican, that wants to see President Trump figuratively, in some respects literally, dead. They want him out because he challenges the money train there, the power train. Mueller is a product of that, and that is why you'll find people like outgoing Speaker Paul Ryan and others supporting Mueller, because they never liked Trump, and they're part of the establishment, and they want to see Trump gone. And the way to do it is through Mueller. And that's why the American people need to rise up We need a special counsel. I volunteered, if not me, then somebody else who's independent to get the job done, because Mueller has committed crimes. You can't be releasing grand jury information, leaking it every day. I have a lawsuit pending to find out his communications with the media, and we're pressing on that. But it's clear that he's been doing that, and the intention is to damage the president fatally without even having to indict him or send an impeachment report. It's outrageous, and it's illegal.
Larry, we only have not even a minute and a half remaining, and I do still have two more topics that I want to get to real quickly if we can. I want to talk about Hillary Clinton. Her deleted emails will now reportedly be released to the public in September of this year. In your opinion, what is the significance of these emails actually being released, and what do you anticipate the public to learn from the release of these emails that the public may not already know?
Good question. Of course, Miranda, we know that it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. You could always return to Oz. The NSA always had her emails. They have everybody's emails. So it's long overdue. The fact that maybe some of them might be released, and not all of them will be released, probably only a fraction, will cause absolutely no action by our federal law enforcement apparatus. They protect each other, Democrat and Republican administrations. And that's why I've proposed a citizens grand jury. Again, you can see that at freedomwatchusa.org. We have the right, according to a majority opinion by Justice Scalia, to commission our own grand juries, to actually try and convict and to sentence people. And I hope that we could get a judge to enforce that. That's what I'm going to be doing, because we have no Justice Department that's willing to do anything that comes out with regard to any elite person, not just Mrs. Clinton, but anybody that's part of their club. And that's why the American people are fed up. They've had it. They see this dual system of justice. If you're an ordinary person, you're going to go to prison. But if you're Hillary Clinton or you're Barack Obama or you're some prominent Republican, forget it.
Larry Klayman, as always, thanks for your time. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Larry.
God bless you both.
And a reminder, Larry also writes and is a columnist for Newsmax.com. You can read his latest article by going to our website. Coming up, Democrats are declaring victory in a special election in Arizona, but the Republican who won the seat won narrowly, and some Democrats are thinking that this could be a sign of a blue wave. Are they right?